Hey everybody, it's Cam Mabel. It is so awesome to be here again. It's Rug Wash Pros. Yes, that awesome podcast coming at you, the home of rug rescue. Many of you are starting to find out about this podcast. We are so excited about it. And yes, I am missing my sidekick. That bald, little, short-looking oatmeal making guy is not here today. I don't know where he is. I tried to call him, message him. He's probably mixing up some sort of cocktail in his back room at his ChemMax office right now. But that's okay. We need to keep him busy anyways. But I'm lucky because tonight I've got the kick-ass Lynn Tall with me. Lynn, how the hell are you doing?
I am very well. How the hell are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm pumped. I'm excited. And the reason, everybody, I am so excited is because I get to see my good friend Lynn Tall probably the day before. See, you'll probably come in what, March 28th or 29th? Probably 29th, right?
I think the class is the 29th.
No, class, is it? No, it's the 30, 31st, and 1st. So you'll get in on the 29th, I think.
Yeah, I'll be in the 27th.
Oh, so you'll be in much earlier. That's perfect because we're gonna have a lot of setup to do and a lot of getting ready to do. And that's why we are doing this podcast today, guys. Not only to talk about this Rug ID class coming up, but I just want to talk to you guys about a little something that I went through. And I know many of you are going to go through the same thing. And the reason I know this is because I'm the guy that gets a lot of these calls. And frankly, I just want to break it down to you simple. When I got into this, I failed many, many times. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I was fortunate enough to be in a situation where I met some of the most wonderful people like Lynn, like Paul Lucas, Nathan, Anthony Belmont, Rob Decker, many other people who were willing to teach me, show me anything, because they figured out really quick what my goal was. I was very determined to go to a certain direction, and there was many there that were there for me. Lynn was, on the top of that list. She was making damn sure I was learning stuff that I needed to learn, was there for me to help guide me. And she was my business coach early on, weren't you, Lynn? There was a big class that I took, and you were my coach.
Nice.
Yeah. And you know what was cool about that is that's when I started realizing how important being able to talk to a client was. I didn't get that early on. That was one of the reasons I failed at first. But then all of a sudden I started understanding, talking to Lynn about Rug ID and how important it was to be able to have that conversation. And Lynn, when you got into this, I know you and Nate, I've heard the stories about you guys being in the hall, late at night, studying and cramming, so you were prepared for that test so you guys could do as good as you possibly could. But you took it further. You and Nate made a pact to give back. And here it is today. You've taught many of these classes. And now we've got one coming up. Why, let's just talk about it a little bit. Why is Rug ID truly important?
Well, boy, that was a very open-ended question. Rug ID is important on a lot of different levels. Primarily, in my mind anyway, other people may disagree, but I believe that when you know more than your client does about their rugs, you instantly become their expert. You haven't washed a thing yet. You haven't deodorized a thing yet. You haven't even taken the rug out of their home. But because you're able to converse with them from a place of knowledge about their textiles, they might say to you, well, okay, great, but now come look at this rug down the hall. So you get called for one rug, they see that you know what you're talking about, and now suddenly you're taking an entire house full of rugs back to the shop to clean. So that's really, first and foremost, you got to know more than your customers. Second, when you know just enough about a rug, and you don't need to know, the name of the weaver in the little teeny tiny village from the 1930s. There are people out there who know that stuff. I don't know that stuff. I don't need to know that stuff. Yeah. Does anyone really?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but when you can look at a rug and recognize basic things like just the country of origin, you already have a plan in the back of your mind. Okay, I see that this rug is Afghani. This rug is going to present XYZ problems because it's woven, nomadically. It's done in the desert. We don't have access to, cotton and good looms. And this comes off the loom, goes on the loom, comes off the loom, goes on the loom. It creates, dimensional stability issues. It creates, color bleed problems. And I haven't touched it with water. I haven't tested it with anything. It's just because I know what the realistic expectations are with an Afghani rug because of how and where it's made. Same thing with, Indian rugs or Chinese rugs, or God help us, some Pakistani rugs, because of the way they're chemically treated, or things that they do post-production to antique them, or resize them, or make them look more important than maybe they are. And that's all because I just know where a rug is made. And so right away, not only do I set myself up for success on the wash floor, but because I know what the inherent problems are with a particular rug, it opens just an avenue of conversation with a customer. I can set their expectation level early and often, under promise, over deliver, hopefully, but I can sell services prior to removing their rugs from the home. So if I know a rug is like, let's say I go and pick up a Chinese needlepoint. Those were super popular with designers, in the 90s and early 2000s, especially, but even before then. But if I know that rug is a Chinese needlepoint, it's petit point, it's woven on a bias, it's woven in panels. And then, so maybe if it's 9x12, it's got 3 panels, 3 feet wide, and borders and mitered corners, and et cetera, et cetera. And when I get it wet, it's going to go back into a diamond shape because it was done on a bias. So after it's been cleaned, I've already pre-sold blocking. And that blocking could be hundreds of dollars. And if I haven't sold it prior to, or had that conversation before I got it wet and made it go all out of shape, now I've got to block it for free to fix it, but if I give them that option up front and I make it their choice, their decision to either clean and block the rug, or I'm sorry, I can't clean it because XYZ is going to happen. So you make more money on each rug that you see just because you know what to expect.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, it's blown my mind through the years how often when I can say, oh, what a beautiful baluch rug that is. That's a really cool piece. I really like it. The colors in that, it's a little different from the last baluch I saw, just conversation. And you can actually say something. And a lot of times the clients, some of them, not all of them, will go, that's a baluch. Oh yeah, we clean them all the time. I love that rug, or whatever it may be. And that conversation just starts to build. That trust starts to build.
Trust.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that customer starts loving. Now, this is for everybody knows, this is Rug Rescue. We typically talk about, in this podcast, the calls that Paul and I get on a daily basis, and we deal with those calls. But this one's a little different, and you will notice when you come to our podcast, and we hope you hit the like button, the subscription button, and all that great stuff. We're not just going to talk about the rescues that we do every day. We're going to talk about things that are important in the rug business as a whole. And Rug ID is hands down one of the most important. And Lynn Tall has been one of the leaders in this for a long time. She is just phenomenal. And the reason I love Lynn so much on this is because she breaks it down to where the average cleaner can frickin' understand it. So many dive into this and just make it so complicated. It really does.
Overwhelming.
It is. And like you said earlier, I don't need to know it was made in this village by this weaver at this time. I don't need to know that. Now, there are some who will want to know that. And guess what? If you want to learn that, dive in, go. There's nothing wrong with it. That's awesome. But everyday cleaners like us, this is what I want to know. This is the stuff. And this is where I started with Lynn, and she did wonderful things for me. Lynn, Something else I want to talk about, because this podcast won't be too long. We just want to give everybody a little bit of an idea of what's going on here with this and why we believe it's so important. We don't just get into, hey, the rugs from China, the rugs from India, the rug from Pakistan. You also dive into looking at and understanding terminology, like killing strips, side cords, all these different things. Can you just talk about that for just a second and kind of explain why you get to work, try to teach people so they understand how to talk about spandrels and all those different things?
Yeah. And, some people will say that there's not a lot of value to it, but I disagree. It's just part of being a professional. Every industry sort of has its own language. And especially if you come from the carpet cleaning industry and now you're sort of segueing into the rug care industry, one of the first things to realize and sort of get past is that the clientele is very different. Rug cleaning clients are very sentimental about their textiles in a way that carpet cleaners cannot understand until you start having those conversations. And so when you can pick out, the border, the inner guard border, the spandrels, the medallion, the parts and pieces of a rug. Let's say there's damage to a rug and you need to note on your paperwork, if you learn from me during pre-inspection portion of the class, the pile all needs to lay in the same direction all the time. And you tag the rug in the same corner all the time, because you can say the right selvage, the top killam strip, you sort of have coordinates around the rug. And so there's, it helps you stay organized, number one, but also it helps a lot further down when you start to learn more about pieces, more about the designs of the rugs, because in beginning in beginning rug ID, you'll attest, right? One of the things I take away is the pretty picture on the front of the rug.
Right.
You cannot look at that, because that rug has been copied in 6 other countries. Patterns all look very, very similar. It comes down to the construction of a piece. And then once you understand how to read the back of a rug, then we can start dissecting, the motifs and the pretty pictures on the other side. They all have names. The parts and pieces have names. The designs themselves have names. And when you know these things, you are a professional. You are a consummate professional if you can name all the parts of a rug and identify the motifs.
Absolutely. And it's funny. I remember technically, so everyone knows, I didn't technically take the class from Lynn. I was growing in this industry and I was a host, and we put together a big class and we had just amazing time. But because of that, I was able to sit in. I was free. I got to go for free. But when I'll never forget, I got back home and it was like, man, did the light bulb go off? Now I'm pumped. I'm excited. And you mentioned it earlier. You were talking about the spandrels and medallion. And I tell you what, it's a little cheesy, but as I would go into clients' home, I'd be like, that is such a beautiful medallion. Or I love the way the spandrels look right here, because I knew what it was. And like Paul always says, tell them what you know, not what you don't know. So the parts that I really grabbed onto, I would use. And it was amazing. People just trusted you. They started going, oh, you really do like rugs. I can't tell you how many times that was said to me. Oh, you really like rugs, or you really know rugs, or you really enjoy this, don't you? Well, yeah, because like you said it again, you said this also earlier, the carpet cleaning and rug cleaning world is so different, but yet some people want to think it's so much the same, and it's not.
Well, I think that is a case of you don't know what you don't know until you start to learn it the right way. And so carpet, you know me, I sound like I start to bash the carpet cleaners. I don't. I love my carpet cleaning students, but you're not going to have full success and growth in rug care until you fully accept and realize that it's very different. The principles that you learned for carpet cleaning are almost opposite. And I sometimes liken it to a keyboard player who picks up a guitar for the first time. Everything is this, I mean, we're all playing music. Just because you play piano does not mean you can play guitar intuitively.
That's right.
You have to learn all the things, that pertain to guitar. And this is just like that. We're all playing music, but we do it differently.
Yeah.
And just like cleaning, right? You play guitar one way, I might play guitar another way, and another one doesn't even use a pick. So, but it all sounds the same. And so, you can end up with similar results, but are you doing it right? Are you doing it well? And are you still going to be cleaning rugs in 5 years, in 10 years? Is this a business you can sell or hand down to someone in your family? Or are you going to close up shop in a couple of years? And you and I have been together in the industry for 12 years now or something.
Yeah.
And I've been around since the 90s. And, we've seen lots of people with all the enthusiasm in the world. Some have succeeded and have just surpassed where we ever thought they would go. And some have folded in a year, 2 years, because they didn't take the time necessary to become a higher level professional.
Well, I remember, Lynn, I don't know if you remember this or not. I think you will, because your memory is a lot better than mine, that's for sure. You and I did a coaching class. I want to say it's been about 7 years. I could be off on that, maybe not quite that long. But we did a coaching class, and we had a particular student who was a very nice person, wonderful person. However, I said something in class one night in that coaching. I think we did 7 sessions. That's how we set it up. It was 7 or 10. And I said one night, if you do not have a passion,
exactly what you're going to say,
for this business,
yep,
you will not succeed. And the next day, I got the call from this person and said, that's BS. That's not true. And I said, I'm sorry, but it is true. I'm not saying that you have to geek out, you have to nerd out and dive in so freaking far or any of that. I wasn't saying that. I said, you have to have some sort of passion for either washing rugs or the art of it, something. You have to love something about it that lights a fire under you. And he disagreed with me and told me he really didn't like it. I was kind of surprised by it. It really kind of shocked me, actually. And a year later, he was out of business.
Yeah.
And we talked about, I think I remember calling you because I kind of felt bad that he felt that way,
yeah,
but I didn't back off because I truly believed what I had said. And I believe it to this day.
I agree. I do as well. And I could not at the time understand his resistance to that. It made no sense to me. But it just shows where his heart was, because this really is an industry of heart. And you really need to care, not just about the rugs that you're doing, but about the customers that are attached to those rugs. You always have to focus on what you can do best for the rug, but also for your customer. Just because you want to make all the repairs doesn't mean your customer can afford all the repairs. And so you have to be, their master mechanic and sort of say, well, here's a priority list, where do you want to start? And one of my favorite things to do is I'll say to a customer, well, if you don't want to repair this rug, can I buy it from you? I'll pay you 3 times what you were going to spend to clean it right now. I want your rug. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, maybe I should take a better look at this rug,
Yep.
And, and I've done that. I've done that more than a few times. Offered to buy rugs off people, and then hopefully all of a sudden they see value in it. Nice pieces.
Yeah.
Out on.
Absolutely. I mean, I tell you, this industry has just gotten into my veins. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, that's why I'm doing this. But so we've got it coming up March 30th, 31st, and April 1st. Yes, great old April Fool's Day. That'll be a fun one. So 3 days of Rug ID, guys, with the best. You're gonna love Lynn. She's gonna make me work for her too. She said, "Camp, no, you're working too here." So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there helping. I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm gonna make some mistakes. I'm excited about it, Lynn.
Let's recap just for a moment and sort of high level. It's not just Rug ID. Talk about those inherent things to look out for. So I'm not just going to teach you how to identify an Afghani rug. I'm going to do it in a way that makes sense, that you can hopefully latch on to something. We have plenty of materials for you to go home with to study, and technical analysis sheets and pre-inspection sheets. And so once we talk through all the things to look for, then we talk about what to say to your customers about it, how to approach that, how to fill out a pre-inspection form to better convey your message to the customer. And all of this is to make more money. To not have to do things for free is also making you more money. But it's not just, this is a Chinese, this is an Indian, now memorize. It's not like that at all. It is very hands-on. There is a lot of classroom element to it, but it's also scavenger hunts and, crazy things that I try and come up with, because you have to sort of be able to pull a rug, from the expression, the name of a rug, like out of your ass, like out of nowhere, right? Because once you leave me and you go back to your shop, it's just you.
Yep.
You have to be the person to make that. So I have plenty of research material. I can, we talk about how to look up rugs, how do I research this, So all of that is part of this. And the textbooks that I'm sending home with everybody it's a really good book. It helps break things down by region. So it'll make more sense in the class, obviously, but it's a very comprehensive, melt your mind. It's a lot of info, but it's fun at the same time.
It absolutely is. It is fun. I've seen it many times and everyone always enjoys it. And so again, guys, I want to mention to everyone, March 30th, 31st, April 1st. That's the dates in Omaha, Nebraska at my new facility. We're excited to have you. We're going to have a blast. It's going to be a great time. If you have any questions, you can always call me at 402-510-0775. I'll be happy to go over any information that you need. We'll explain it all that good stuff. This is exciting. And I will also tell you, we have already sold a lot of seats. So we're talking maybe 5 seats left. That's about where we're at right now. But we wanted to give people a little bit of information about this. And Lynn and I haven't had a real chance to sit down and talk about it much. So we want to do this little podcast for you guys. Again, Rug Wash Pros. This is the home of Rug Rescue. Please hit that like button. That is so important to us. Subscribe. We've got a lot more coming. And as a matter of fact, Lynn, while I've got you here, I'd like to pin you down on something. And we'll see if I can get you to agree. We're not going to be able to do it tonight because it's going to take time. But I would love to have you come back and do a longer podcast about customer service. I know you're always working on great programs for people. You've coached many people. You've taught many people on how to do customer service the right way in this industry. And a lot of people need it. They really just don't grab it until someone tells them and explains certain things, and then the light bulb goes off. So if it's okay with you, here in the next, let's say, maybe before the Rug ID class, maybe we can get another podcast done. And I would like to dive in and spend maybe 30 to 45 minutes and talk about the customer service side of this business. Would that be okay with you?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that would be all right.
Okay. So we'll get that together. We'll make that work, and we'll try to do that as soon as we can, because I think that's going to be, I think it'll be amazing. Because I know I was talking to Paul about it the other day. And I said, Paul, I got to get Lynn on here to do a customer service because she's going to be the best. He goes, so we both need to be on there, ask her some questions and let her teach people and talk about how she does it, because it's absolutely amazing the way you approach it. It's the right way to do it. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to hold you to that one. We're going to do it. So, okay, guys, we are at the end of this podcast. Again, thanks for being here so much. Rug Wash Pros, the home of rug rescue. I want to say thanks to my guest, Lynn Tall. She is absolutely the best. Love you, Lynn. Thank you for being here. And if you guys need anything, please reach out to us. We are always around to help you out. And until next time, take care. Keep it clean.